It's a Friday night, Saturday morning, and you're live with Pure Dance Energy's The Party Den. This man doesn't really need an introduction, but I will. It's DJ Gary MC from GMC Records and the Makina legend that he is. DJ Gary MC, how are you doing?
How's things going? I'm good. How's
Good.
the party then?
It's every Friday night, Gary, it's getting busier and busier. It seems to be busy on TikTok and stuff like that as well. So how are you doing? How is things?
Great, things are good. Yeah, so I suppose I'm still in the kind of mix of work-life balance. Obviously I got a wee one now, so it takes up most of my time. I still like a wee play around on Cubase. I'm starting to get a wee bit of a touch for wanting to kind of play out some stuff again, so it'd be nice to maybe, we'll see what happens maybe in 2024, we'll see.
Right, well there you go. That's a great introduction, Gary, because what I was going to say was, how are you, how's things, and what have you been doing, and you've just summed it up there. So you're caught up as a daddy these days, aren't you? But you still dabble in the old tunes and the music, and maybe next year could be an interesting year for you. So this is what it is, Gary. What we've done is we've sent you over a list of 10 questions, and we've done a wee interview with DJ RS, and we've done one with got DJ MC Gizzy G, and it's the kind of same format. So without further ado, I'll go into the questions. I'll drop them and we'll have a wee chat in between. Okay, so the first question I've got sitting here, Gary, is can you share with us a story of how you first get into the Makina dance scene and what drew you to it?
I think it probably goes back to my cousin, probably back in the early 90s, mid 90s, kind of introduced me a wee bit of kind of happy hardcore. And I'd say back then I was probably only about 6 or 7, do you know what I mean? So I remember it that far back, and I remember him doing the hand jive and dancing.
Right, okay.
And I always sort of had an interest in just music in general, whether that be through dancing or singing. You know, I like to think I could pick up pretty much any instrument and give it a bash. So I think going through there, I started to get involved in a wee bit of kind of like break dancing, hip hop, and through that, one of my tutors was a bit of a DJ, and obviously seeing him on a set of 1210s interested me more than spinning on my head. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to give that a go. And it just so happens one of the local guys, Gary O'Connor, he's a DJ, he's been in the Scottish scene for a long time. At the time he came under a name called DJ Ronico. He was selling a set of decks, so I used to pick up a set of decks and a set of chunk of second-hand records, and I thought I was Tiesto. But within that bundle there was loads of happy hardcore, so I started doing a bit of collecting and just whatever I could get my hands on, and it wasn't just necessarily happy hardcore, but anything, trance, hard house, and I just started to kind of listen to things that were getting blasted about the old MSN and Yahoo at the time, to be honest with you.
Oh, there's a thing.
Live, and you used to...
Yeah,
you take over the chat, and you had...
Yeah, carry on, sorry, Gary.
You had the influx of the PC DJs. So you had people like Barry Weir, DJ Pulse, Zitkiss,
Ranking.
There was loads of them, and then obviously they've arose again with their kind of I'm a raver scene thing, and you know it's taken off. And I suppose getting back to that, you know, it was a start for a lot of people. PC DJing. That myself, I wasn't that great at it, to be honest with you. I think I was more interested in making my own stuff, and I wanted people to put all that kind of funky vocally stuff over the top of it. But I had a messing with I think it was some sort of mix software that came free with your PC or something like that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, do you know what? You're taking me back here. Right, okay, carry on.
And I also had, do you remember the game on PlayStation?
Loved it.
I remember that name.
Yeah, there was a wee cubes.
That as well. Aye, so, but I started to get more and more interested in the kind of faster scene, I think, more than anything. The stuff about 140, 150 just didn't do it for me. Do you know what I mean? I had to go that extra mile and hit that kind of 170, 175 BPM, and I found myself listening to a lot of things that were coming from the northeast of England. At the time I didn't know it was called Makina. I didn't know where it originated from, but there was MCs over the top of it, and you know, forgive me, I'm not the biggest bidder MC guy at the minute.
Yeah, I don't know. You've not been. Yeah, you've no been,
But
because I spoke to you about this a long time ago, and you says,
aye,
yeah, I don't mind, but I'm not a big fan of them.
aye. And I'll tell you why, Glenn, because when obviously that was my introduction to McKenna, and that's all I'd ever heard of it, so it was nice to hear that. But then obviously as you become an avid follower, a fan of his genre of music, you start to dig in deeper. Its origins, where did it come from? Who was the kind of producers out there still making it? Because obviously at the time I'm listening to it, it was 15, 20 years old.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
So that I was curious to that fact. So I started to kind of listen to some more of the kind of newer stuff that was kicking around at the time, around about 2004, 2005. And that was without MCs, and that probably introduced me more into the original origins of it, being from that kind of Spain, Barcelona area, and how it kind of took off for there. But
Yeah, it was yourself. It was yourself that taught me about the origins of the Spanish hardcore and stuff like that. And I was more into the UK bouncy stuff, but you taught me an awful lot about it as well. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's well, at that point in time, the scene was sort of flowing. Scott Brown was playing in places like Activa and XQ, and these were all, you know, Maquina nightclubs in Spain. They were in industrial states in the middle of Barcelona. You know, Scott, all your hardcore DJs have probably played it. You know, there was a big mixed scene. It wasn't just that they played just Maquina. They played out some jump style, Gabba, hardstyle.
Yeah, and that's something that
hardcore, all mixed into one.
Yeah, that was something that I enjoyed, Gary. It was the crossover and sharing the influences, because it was a really creative. See what you were saying about 2000. It was a really creative time with the producers, and they were all wanting a wee shot of the action, so they were making the tunes a bit like what's happening just now with this kind of Melbourne bounce sound and stuff like that. The DJs and the producers have just jumped on that just now. So yeah, I totally get that. If you don't mind, Gary, we'll move on to a question number 2, if that's all right with yourself.
That's fine.
Could you highlight some pivotal moments and experiences that you have shared in your career in the Maquina dance scene as a DJ?
Are you out to swear?
You carry on.
Probably absolutely shitting myself when I played the round room in our kiosk when I was 15.
15, Gary?
I don't know if many people ever know that I was 15 when I started DJing at this night called Dimensional, which I then became a resident DJ at with lots of great other guys. But I think I was supposed to be playing that wee warm-up set, and the guy that was on at the time, Davey, DJ Bucky, was like, "Oh, do you fancy going on? We've got these 2 MCs," and I'm like, shitting myself. Absolutely shitting myself. I think I'd played one or 2 nights in Betty's, which was next door. You know, and you know, we packed, it was full and stuff, and that was great. But to get into this round room and just look up and see people standing, you know, and they were everywhere, just masses of people.
Yeah, it was a cracking nightclub. Yeah, an absolutely great nightclub.
In our kiosk, the decks were, you know, like, hung on what I'd call metal wires, and the desk that it sat on moved, but the place was jumping. And the needle kept skipping and stuff like that. You know, and this was back, and we still played vinyl. You know, there was Maquina, but you know, it took years before it actually emerged to become like MP3 available. You know, it wasn't, you couldn't just go to, you know, Juno or Beatport and just download Maquina. You know, it didn't exist.
No.
So everything was either vinyl, if you were lucky to have a CDJ, but everything was done in vinyl. I suppose that obviously been my kind of main step into it, and what set I played, you know, it's still the best sets that's been recorded, and I listened to it quite a lot. I enjoy it, and it was with 2 MCs, Techno T and Jet, who are absolute legends in the North East scene.
I don't know if that was
what I call old school MCs.
I don't know if that was one of the sets that James had, because you were talking earlier on there about the PlayStation, see that wee bit of software. Well, believe it or not, that's how I get James' attention. James Dean, I'm talking about. I made a couple of tracks, and he was the boss of the radio at the time, and I sent these tracks down made off the PlayStation. He says, "Come down, have a wee chat." But sorry, Gary, I taken you off your flow there.
That's all right. No. So, I suppose that's one. Obviously, the biggest was being able to travel and play. You know, especially going back to the origins of Maquina and playing in Barcelona, playing at Chassis. You know, unbelievable opportunity. It was great, and obviously being able to travel around the UK and ply your trade was just great. It was tiring. I don't think it was anywhere near what some of the bigger DJs in the world do these days, you know, just constantly on a plane. But, you know, I worked Monday to Friday and I partied Friday to Sunday, sometimes on Monday.
And you were a pretty, if you still are, you're a pretty decent lad at the time as well, because I had met you.
I always felt I'd be quite grounded, and I never ever took it for granted. I think, you know, looking back, sometimes I was probably quite naive. I think that just comes with age. I think sometimes you forget how good you've got at it as well. I mean, there obviously becomes a point where you think to yourself, you know, obviously I need to start a career and do something a wee bit more sensible, but I think I had a good run at it anyway.
Oh, fantastic, Gary. I mean, I'm enjoying these wee memories, and I'm trying to remember, because I've known you through your musical journey, through your life. I kind of disappeared there for quite a few years, but I definitely know you've got a good backbone there. You've got a good mammy behind you, and she's always going to keep you grounded, so that's always going to be a good thing. So yeah, I'll move on to the next question. What inspired you to start producing your own music, and can you tell us about some of your most memorable record releases?
What inspired me, I think I was just getting fed up playing everybody else's stuff. I think, you know, because the music that I was playing was in a niche market and there was only so much shit about that you could get your hands on in vinyl, I think I took a liking to, obviously, as I say, messing about in some kind of free software. I probably decided I wanted to do something a wee bit different. Do you know, back when we were playing in Bolt FM, like for the very first time, we done it in Black Hill.
Yeah.
And that obviously you're playing other people's music. Do you know what I mean? And that's going to live, and that the aspect of being able to, you know, get your music out there to people that probably wouldn't listen to it otherwise. You know, my music's obviously quite a niche market, so you know, you've got the opportunity to potentially, you know, play your music to thousands that probably wouldn't listen to it. And that's, I suppose, how people gather fans and music in general. So I think
I'm laughing there. I've actually got a few memories for that Boat FM, but we'll not do that in the interview.
No, that's all right. But I think doing that probably gives you a wee bit of push to go, you know, I'm playing everybody else's music, you know, and out with the money, because the money was never ever something that really interested me, to be honest with you. Getting my music out there. So I think I was quite lucky enough. I decided that I was going to go to college and do a HND in dance music, sound production stuff at James Watt up at Greenock. And, you know, I probably let myself do a wee bit of that course because, again, you think you're kind of Billy Big Boys. I'd already started to release music when I had went to that college, and, you know, looking at some of the guys that I was at college with, they were great, you know, really intelligent. Sound design, you know, was so up there. I mean, I'm pretty much just a guy, if I listen to it and I'll remake it, or I'll, you know, everything's done by ear for me. You know, theory is just my biggest letdown.
I'm the exact same, Gary. So, I'm the exact same.
So if I
practical.
I get bored far too easy if I need to sit and read a book, you know, and I just can't do it. And I was starting to release music. I'd released my first set. I'd get signed to a northeast label down the south called Force 10 Records, and the song was terrible. It was a remix. I think it was DJing Vegana, and it was a remix. And, you know, the guys, the two people that owned the label at the time, they had a record shop down in Newcastle, and I was buying all my records for them. So they were like, look, yeah, we'll sign that, and they signed it, and it took half massive. You know, I never. It was done in Fruity Loops.
Is that right?
I used Fruity Loops at the time for that. And then I remixed. The next one I done was a remix of Cascada's One More Night, and I would say probably wasn't really popular at all. And I remember actually dealing with Cascada at the time when I had done it, because we were looking to, you know, obviously use the original vocals, and talks of that going so well, and then it didn't go so well, and so then we sort of rewrote it a wee bit, and we got Lisa Abbott to come in and do, you know.
That's right, I remember this.
And hardcore. And then the next minute I was being told that one of the biggest McKenna producers, Ruboy, his name is, was actually going to do a remix as well, and, you know, we released this, and still to this day, I mean, it's a record that can still go for about £100 odd. You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I suppose that's when I get the taste for it. I mean, I've done a couple of other releases for Force 10, but then I wanted to properly do my own stuff. And with the help of the guy that actually ran that label, he's like, let's start your own label, let's do your own thing and mark up a wee bit. So that was the first Scottish Makina label. I was able to distribute my music in Spain. You know, the record labels over there were buying it, and their groves. My music was then going to places like Japan and China, America. You know, places that you'd never ever think people would go, can you send me over 500 copies of that, please? But the money that we brought in, we used that to at least keep either doing some rerun presses or paying for the next press, and not really taking anything from it. And we've done that solidly through the first 3 releases.
I do remember I was doing a lot of other different projects and stuff like that, and I do remember peering in the wee Facebook window, and I was seeing how well you were doing. I know the time I would catch up, I know the time you would come and do events, but yeah, it was definitely taking off. Now, I'm going to ask you here, Gary, because you haven't met. You did, was it See You Later, G? You was that one of your tracks?
No, I never done See You Later, G. So
was it not?
Who done the original See You Later, G? It was a guy that I know from Motherwell.
Right.
Pals with Graham. And the original See You Later G that he done was just no mixable. One of the things that I wanted to do was certainly to look at it and see if we could do something with it, and Graham agreed. And that was great, and it's so popular. It is so popular, it's unreal. And I mean, even to this day, if I was to go and play, and I dropped that, the place goes wild. With one of Graham's pals as well now, and you know, he's just, I wish he had stuck at it, I wish he had done more.
Yeah, well, that's one of the tunes that's a kind of crossover for me. I like my bouncy hardcore, and I can play that. I can get away with doing that. I like it. How would you describe the distinctive features of McKenna dance music, and what do you believe sets it apart from other genres of electronic dance?
Probably how it was sampled. I think the samples play a big, massive part in it. You know, and I'm going to use some of the expressions that the guys in Spain use. You know, kick drums like a bombo. You know, and just imagine the word bombo means. You know, the kick drum, bum.
Right.
You know, the bass is called contra. You know, and that at the end of it, you know, it's still happy hardcore like, but there's elements to it that change it. You know, and the synths are slightly different. I think sometimes when you listen to happy hardcore, as much as it's happy, it's serious. It's like a cheesy version of it, you know what I mean? It's well, like the...
Yeah, do you know what I was going to say, Gary? I know I keep cutting into you, and I'll let you do the talking, but what I'm finding is when I'm out and about in the town, or I'm down one of the shore fronts or whatever, and the young guys' motors that are passing, they've either get the happy bounce stuff, or they've got the McKenna with the MC, and I think there's a massive influx in McKenna, and you can tell that distinct kind of... I'm going to say it's a happy aggressive, if you can get such a thing.
It is. And it's evolved, because in the early 90s it was very much, you know, it was played at like 150, 140.
Is that right? Yeah, right, okay.
It was played one song after another. There's songs like Smile and stuff like that. It's very much catering alongside the old Italian dance stuff, you know what I mean? It's kind of took a bit of passion for there as well. So, I mean, there's probably people out there that'll be able to give you a lot more information than what I could, but in my knowledge on it, you know, it's grew quite a lot. I mean, one of the biggest nightclubs for it was Chassis, which I was lucky to play at, and I mean, originating for the early 90s, you know, that club, you know, and it paved the way for that scene.
Yeah, I was going to say, because Barcelona is quite a close-knit kind of built-up area, and a lot of that music's coming from the housing estates around there and stuff like that as well. So, yeah.
Do you know what's really big to notice? That even the past couple of years, it's branched out now. It's getting played in massive festivals in like Madrid.
Is that right?
You know, you know, and I was actually saying to my girlfriend's husband, you know, like, I want to go there next year. I want to go on one of these festivals in Madrid, and it's just full of guys that I've known for years that I've went to Barcelona and Madrid just to play all these festivals.
That's what I said to James at the time. I says, Gary's away over to Barcelona, he's away doing things, and James says, well, that's the scene that he's in. He needs to do that. You need to do the field work and get on the ground and be a part of it and stuff. So it's all education in it as well. I mean, you can come back for a big festival.
And that's how you make those contacts. I mean, I was lucky enough through all that. You know, I met Rude Boy, most people don't know, but he was one of the main remixers for XTM for Flying the Wings of Love.
Is that right? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Aye, so, you know, and it was nice enough to pass me those vocals, and I was able to remix that and get official credits for it and stuff like that, you know. And I would never have ever got the contacts had I not done what I'd done quite early on. with joining that first record label, because the guy that owned that, DJ Serna, Jose, he was brought up with all these guys. All these guys stayed local. All these DJs and producers, they all grew up together in Barcelona. You know, it was like they all went to a bit like the Dutch invasion you've got with the EDM scene.
Yeah.
You know, they all grew up and they all went to musical schools and stuff like that. I mean, it was quite small.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Your Mark Smiths, your Scott Browns, all your local guys from Glasgow creating a scene. So it's the exact same idea.
David Forbes. I mean, I grew up knowing about David Forbes. He came for Sight Hill when I came for, and you know, watching him now exploding that trance scene is just brilliant.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, Gary? I was actually talking. That's one of DJRS's big favourite live DJs, and he says, I missed this because I was away from the music scene for quite a few years there, just sort of my own personal life. But he was telling me what I'd missed, and he said that David Forbes was doing these live streams through COVID and stuff like that, and he was getting 12 and a half, 13,000 people coming in. He's like, some of his sets were just incredible. So
you just see him playing live at a state of trance, and that's great, man. And it's so good to see somebody else, because I mean, musically wise, Sight Hill has produced some really good artists.
It's crazy, isn't it? We spoke about this.
We come for that wee place, you know, and there's a number of people, you know, not just me, whether it's for music or, you know, personalities, sports, and all the rest of it, coming for the area that I came for. You know, it's amazing to think some of these guys have actually went on and played in the world stages at some of the best festivals around the world.
Gary, you touched on this. I'm going to jump on to question 5. You touched on this a wee minute ago, so you kind of have answered this, but I just in case there's other stuff there, could you share some stories and from your experiences within the McKenna dancing strictly in Spain? What it was like to DJ as a young boy in Spain?
Mental, absolutely mental, and I pinch myself every day thinking about it, because it's twice I've done it. So. And it'd be invited back, wasn't it? I think one of see, I'll tell you what it was like, right? So see, the nightclubs are all based in industrial estates, they're no like at a city centre, right? So you need to travel a wee bit, you need to drive. So you go to these nightclubs, and these nightclubs are actually all quite close to each other.
Right.
And so you've got guys with their boy racer cars and their boots are open, their sound systems banging full of Makina tunes. I'm loving this. I've never seen this before. You know? And
right.
18 years of age, you know what I mean? 18. And the tunes are absolutely pumping. And so the club that I was playing in, Chassis, that didn't open to 12, and at 12 to 6. That's what times the nightclubs open at 12 o'clock at night, right? 12 to 6. But there was a nightclub around the corner called Activa, and it was run by two of probably the best DJs for making a passes in Buenri. They ran a club night called XQ before that, and it was really popular with the likes of Scott Brown and stuff, you know, Hixie, they'd all played at it. But they had this other big club called Activa outside. There was palm trees and all that. It was like something, you know, I've never seen anything like it. This nightclub held something like 8,000 people. 8,000 people, right? So there we're standing in the queue, and obviously I'm with Jose, who knows all these guys, and they come in to me, and I'm starstruck. I can't believe this. And I'm like, oh, come in, just come in. So before you know it, you're getting the vodka and Red Bull, and I'm standing at the DJ box, and the guys are inviting me in. And this place is jumping,
right?
And then they start playing your music. You know, you're just like crumbled. And then before you know it, you're getting a shot. You get a shot of mixes in, and I was still to play the gig that I was booked to go and play. That was just in the corner.
Really?
So
yeah.
I was half sozzled, but just watching these two guys do their thing. You know, 4 decks, music all playing at the one time. You know, I'd obviously listened to it in sets. I'd never physically seen it. Amazing. And then together in the corner and playing one of the most, you know, prestigious Makina nightclubs, Chassis, you know, was great. And at that point I'd went through, I think the next day we went to another nightclub which everybody will know quite well, was Pont Airy. And you know, you've got the song Flying Free.
Right.
Flying Free. So that was co-produced by Ruboy.
Right.
But it was for, if you listen to this song, it talks about this club, Pont Airy. And that again was something that I had listened to, all these sets, and again up in the DJ box, just pushing my way up to the DJ box, and being part of that was
having
just
it.
Something
Yes,
else.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I know that feeling, Gary. I don't know that 8,000 in front of you, but I know that feeling, and it's just amazing, isn't it? It's great.
Aye, and then I'll take you right back to the next part of it, as when obviously you start to make friends with these guys, right? So Ruboy who is an absolute gentleman. I mean, we were lucky enough to host him in my house a couple of times when they came over to play in Glasgow, you know, and I was just starstruck, you know, and sitting in my bedroom making tunes with him, you know, couldn't believe it. But the first time obviously I went to Barcelona, we went to his studio, invited me for dinner, and just sat there and watched him do it. You know, that was inspirational enough. I didn't have to go and play at all the nightclubs. I actually realised I get the same buzz sitting with him as what I did.
Here's a wee quick question that I want to see. We haven't mentioned about you doing your scratching, and that was something that made you, to me, stand out above the rest. There's another guy out there that does the UK hardcore DJ FX. He's very technical with the vinyl and stuff, but that was something that you were well famous for, Gary. Even as a young boy, I remember this because all about the schemes and stuff like that. They needed a mixtape, and if they had your mixtape, they were all talking, listen to how he scratches, listen how he does this. And I remember being a part of that. But is that one of the things that you did when you went to that 8,000 nightclub? Were you scratching and doing your wee thing?
Banging right, I did.
Yeah.
You're right, I did. You're right, I did. And you know what? It just went above everybody's head. Nobody even cared. Because I was only, you know, I cared. I was like, I'm shooting to this. Get me some rush hour on, and then you scratch sound, and that was me. I was away.
Yes.
Funny enough, because the second time I played, I actually wanted to go over there with the mindset that I was going to play a set like you would hear there.
Right.
You know, so they played 3 and 4 decks, and obviously we don't do that here. You know,
right.
we're one Jane, we play one song and another song. You know what I mean? And that is that.
Right.
So
they do all that kind of scratching in and stuff like that, all of that DMX.
So they've got background songs, but they'll call basses.
Right.
So they play them behind another song, and they'll play like 4 songs conjoined at the same time.
Yeah, right.
And it's crazy. And I wanted to do that. And again, as I say, through the theory side, I'm not great counting and stuff like that, because they count everything, they know every piece of every single song, so they know when to drop something.
Wow.
I just thought, I'm going to try this, so I practiced this set before I went. I've never ever practiced a set in my life, right? Right, okay. It's just something I just don't want to do. I don't like it. It puts me off, but I'm like, no, I'm going to do it this time. And I thought I'd done extremely well. But see, about halfway through the set, I was like, fuck this. I just came back to what I know.
Really?
I'll just get the scratching record on the vinyl. But and that was the fun side of it. Do you know what I mean? But that's definitely a moment for me.
Happy days. I actually get wee goose pimples there for you, actually. It sounded incredible. And the thing is, that was your warm-up that night. That was your warm-up before you actually did the real gig.
I know. I see the real gig. I don't even think it had, because it was quite a small club, so the chassis clubs, they get smaller and smaller. Obviously, as time goes on, you know what I mean? They don't have the power, but they play these big nights. There was some big stages I was playing with that night. You know, it was I mean, the place was packed. But you know, you went from a nightclub like that into this nightclub. This nightclub only maybe held about 1,500. You know what I mean? And that's not unusual for what we would play in front of, even in Glasgow. Do you know what I mean? So.
I remember, Gary, before we go to the next question, I remember something very similar. Scott Brown being my hardcore idol, I was invited to play Room 2. It was a gig up in Perth or something like that, and downstairs was absolutely chocker. Upstairs wasn't really that busy. It was just wee stragglers we were getting. But just the fact that I was on the same flyer, I was on the same gig, and Scott Brown came up the stairs, that made my night. Absolutely loved it, man. I know.
Just off the back of that, I mean, and just what you're saying there, it's exactly it. I mean, if you remember, obviously we met through their under-18s.
Yeah.
Right? And under-18s was always the pinnacle for any DJ to start off, especially at my age, right? But I used to do the under-18s also through in Stirling.
Right.
And I think the first under-18s that I done through in Stirling, it was like Scott Brown, Hixie, all that, right? And it's not, I think back about it, and I think to myself, by God, I was 14, 15. I had some set of boss plant in to do that. Who knew? I'd panic.
I know.
And I know Scott, and you know, and I'd always Sharky as well. Of all people.
Yeah.
You know, I had bunker CDs.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm just like, I'm just standing looking at them going, no way am I going to play an under-18 set here. And that was thanks to DJ Pulse back in the day. I played some under-18s in Stirling through Boney, who I used to know Back to the Future. I mean, I was lucky enough I played there as well. When I was quite young, do you know what I mean? I've been quite fortunate.
Right, listen to the names. Listen to the names you're dropping. But this is a young boy.
But starting off, at that age, I mean, I probably wasn't the best mixer. I think, and I've always said this, the first thing I did, and as you go back to the scratching, I learned to scratch before I could mix.
Is that right?
Because it was more impressive to be a scratcher than it was a mixer.
That's right, that was the era.
But I took it quite heavy with the hip hop stuff. I was dead intrigued in like DJ Qbert and stuff like that. And I was more interested in the technicality of, you know, mixing with both, scratching with both hands and stuff like that. So I took that on board more quicker, but I probably couldn't mix for shit back then. That was a bit of a learning curve. I think I had to just learn on the job.
Yeah.
But doing that with under 18s with you and James and going through that process, I think was great for me. They were the wee crowds. They were actually quite big.
And the thing was, it was quite close.
Yeah,
it was quite close to the stage, so you were constantly aware of the feedback that you were getting. The tunes that you're dropping are actually Gary. Once we're finished this interview, we're actually playing at you, PJ McKenna, and MC Gizzy G at the under 18s for a half hour. So you'll get to hear your style of music. You hear but you can also hear the crowd in it as well, and they totally responded and come back to you. So yeah, it's a good kind of learning playground of what we were doing back then as well. Tell us about how you got records pressed. That would be interested, because you come from an idea of you've got the track in your studio. How do you overcome getting it from your studio into vinyl?
One of the biggest things I'm going to say is money. You don't have a lot of money. We don't get paid, and you know, I'm not going to slate the scene in Scotland, right? But it's extremely poor for paying its artists, right, across the board, right? And I'm not going to even make a lie about it. Hence why I will not play for nothing.
Absolutely.
You know, if you want my services, you know, and it's only now I really truly believe that, you know, you're going to pay me for my services. I'm going to bring a crowd. You know, I might know now, but back then I did. You know, and you know, and I think it's only the right thing you can do is make sure that you compensate somebody for their hard work. So when I think about when I started pressing the vinyl, I was fortunate enough I had a residency. I didn't make great money for that residency. Eventually I did, but at the beginning we didn't. And anything that I had to pay out of my own pocket. Everything was self-funded, and you know, and it wasn't just me. It was a joint effort between me and my friend Jose. When we started GMC Records, it was right. The two of us will front some money up, and you know, we'll not take fit, and that's what I get back to. We'll not take fit, and you know, the stumbling block for that is you've got designs. You've got to make sure the mastering's right. These are the things I didn't understand. I just made tunes. I didn't understand that things had to be mastered to a certain level. You know, I didn't understand that the designs had to be perfect. That the wait times were unrealistic because these presses were getting done in China. Everything is done in China.
I didn't know that. Is that right?
So we used that. I think the company was called Mobineco. Sorry if I'm letting out everybody's secrets here, but we used that because it's one thing you'll find that a lot of labels won't do is tell other labels where they get their presses done. I'm not about that. I'm off for sharing, right? So I'll share with a company called Mobineco, and you had your own account manager and all that, and it was such a learning curve for me. And you get a test press back, and then you think, oh, I'm going to get the records in this date, and then they're extended, and then they get to customs, and you know, it's nothing but a sweat, and obviously you've fronted what I would have seen at the point in time, a good chunk of money.
Yeah.
And panicking that, are they going to sell? It's the biggest fear, and it's the biggest fear of anything. When you need a set, you hope I'm not going to make a mistake because I can rectify it, and people will still enjoy my set. But when you've fought out money and time and sweat, and obviously you've got different artists as well, because it wasn't just my music that was on these releases, you know. So you had the promotional side, and bear in mind this was still vinyl. This was an MP3 where there was no SoundCloud, there was no Mixcloud.
Yeah. There
was MySpace. I suppose that's one of the biggest challenges that I think you can come when you start to do your own record label. And I never chose to do my own record label because I was to get releases elsewhere. And that's, you know, at the time I done it, a few people were saying, "Oh, you're just pressing your own stuff," and I'm like, my stuff will sell. I wanted to do my own Scottish thing. I wanted to be different from what everybody else was doing. Do you know what I mean? And it was all about gain. I mean, if you look at a lot of my releases, even when we stopped doing the vinyl, we done the MP3s. I always took younger artists into the fold. You know what I mean? Whether it be, you know, British artists, Spanish. I mean, I was getting Spanish guys give me demos for my label because it worked. But beyond that, I think one of one of the biggest hurdles that you come up against is the writing block part, and it's something that not a lot of producers will talk about.
I remember, Gary, you invited me into your studio, and I had in my head, I had all these great, wonderful ideas. I went to your studio, sat about, spoke cod shite all day long, and done absolutely nothing. And the thing was, I was going to say, look, Gary, I know the basics how to make a tune, but I don't know what I'm doing here. I should have just said that. I should have, but I didn't. I was loving that whole vibe that I'm in the studio with, you know.
I mean, I used to sit in that studio and I'd sit for hours, and I'd maybe open up one project and I'd do a wee bit of one, and then I'd go, right, I'm fed up with that, I'll go to the next one. And I was all pretty much a project jumper. I wasn't the one for just sitting at one project and finishing it.
Which can be a producer's downfall, can it?
Especially in the studio. I was much more comfortable laying it down in the studio but finishing it in the house.
Right.
I was the type of guy that, because I had obviously two setups, I had my studio in the house set up, and I would do what I would do, but I'd quite happily sit to 3 in the morning in the house and finish it. And I don't know if that was just a comfort thing, or I just didn't like to be in the studio and finish. When I finished, I was in the studio, and you know, but when you had that writer's block, it was difficult. It was really, really difficult to determine whether or not, you know, okay man, this am I kind of a bit bothered, or will I just go out tonight, or will I sit and write a tune, or...
Yeah, and if you think of that, now, it's bog standard. That's how tracks are written in bedrooms. I know,
and I think one of the biggest pressures, and I'll say this, and this is probably the biggest thing I went through, was when you have somebody that, you know, and I can't obviously name names for producing for other artists, and not just in the making world, because I've done it for many an artist. And I know it gets back to everybody, the whole ghost producing thing. There comes a pressure with that. Funny enough, I probably write the best stuff for other people. Fucking pisses me off, because I would sit there. Maybe it's the fact that I know that I've already got the money. I don't know. But, no, and that's not true. That is not true, because I was working at.
No, you're dedicated. You know, absolutely, I know that.
You don't pay until you like it to an extent. So. Writing music for other people was always something that I was really, really good at, and the writer's block just seemed to disappear overnight. And I would always kick myself, because some of these tunes were like bangers, and not just McKenna, by the way. You know, I wrote things for a lot of artists that people hear daily. So I was kind of lucky enough to get through a period where that's all I did. You
don't need to tell me your secrets. I kind of know. But yeah, man, you're a hard worker.
Yep. So. But that, as I say, that's the hurdle. The writer block's the hurdle, especially for a producer. And at that point, I was becoming less and less inclined about, you know, getting bookings and DJing, and, you know, I just wanted to make music. It didn't matter what the style of music was, or the genre of music was. It was just, I just wanted to sit and make music. And I suppose that's where things got sort of calmed down a wee bit for me as well. Maybe that's where life started to get a wee bit more serious.
Well, but when it becomes fatherhood, that's when it all becomes serious. I know, because I was sitting having a chat to you a couple of weeks ago, and you must have been doing the same I was doing. I was scratching my head and thinking, how did we get here?
I know. I remember through the madness with partying every weekend to all of a sudden I'm sitting scrolling through TikTok, my eyes are shutting at 9 o'clock at night. What have we become?
You probably already mentioned Rude Boy, but can you tell us about artists and DJs that have influenced your style in the McKenna genre?
Artists, certainly. I mean, there's people that, you know, I say Rude Boy, you've got people like Gerard Requena, again, another producer for Barcelona. Got to say people like Davey Forbes as well, because when you come from a local area, you know, a scheme like Sighthill, you know, you always look up to people like that. So certainly somebody like Davey is certainly high up there.
I know DJ RS will be sitting listening to this, and he'll be getting a wee notepad out, and he'll be like, tick next to Gary MC's name, a big tick. Well done, I like that. He's a big Davey Forbes fan.
Good. Aye. So, but I'd say it had influences. I mean, there's certainly people like GD D'Agostino. You know, I'm very much into my Italian dance as well.
Yeah.
So as much as McKenna, there's certain styles of music that just grown up to listening to. You know, there's loads of other people. I mean, there's a guy that I've been following for years called Savant. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. He's Eastern European. I think he's Swedish or Norwegian. I could be completely wrong, but he's got Asperger's autism.
Right, okay. Is it right? Okay.
Everything sounds like it comes from Nintendo mixed with dubstep, and I'm just like, I just sucker right in it. Every time he releases an album, I just buy it. I just can't help myself, and it's not even music that you would listen to daily.
Is that 32-bit,
once or twice.
32-bit sound?
He's
Yeah.
so good at it. He's just so good at it, man.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I started listening to him for years. I mean, I suppose I had obviously I touched the kind of the house side.
That's right.
The hardwells and stuff like that. So, you know, there's a number of artists out there that I suppose that, you know, depending on the genre of music, you know, that have influenced me. Obviously, the biggest ones are the Scottish boys. You know, they're the ones that you grow up to, go into your school discos and listen to, Bob Browns, stuff like that. So
I know
they're always kind of high up there. I think they'll always be high up there for me.
Yeah, but, same as me as well.
I suppose the Spanish boys is what probably gives me the bug more than anything. No, I think getting into a foreign territory as a young Scottish boy, you know, and being accepted, you know, that's frightening. You know. Can't even speak a word of Spanish.
We could have used your luck in Spain the other night there, so we could have.
Maybe. You know, and the best laugh is, and Jose, I mean, I still speak to Jose daily, do you know what I mean? He's my brother, but he's torn between it, you know, he's like, because he spent so much time here. So anytime Scotland are playing, obviously, the Rangers, you know, he's a sucker for it. You know what I mean? That's how he stuck right in. So that night he posted that on Facebook, he was like, I'm torn. And I'm like, nah.
It's all fun, but that's when it comes down to all fun banter. Gary, I'm gonna rush down here. I've just realised how long we've been doing here. So let me ask you. This one, I think you mentioned earlier on there, so we're more looking at 2024. But can you tell us about any upcoming projects or collaborations you're currently working on?
There's plenty of events and stuff like that kicking about.
There is. It's quite a busy scene just now. I'm noticing that myself.
I've done a gig last year for the first time. What was it this year? This year maybe. March for JPS. It was nice to play a wee McKenna gig, and Xavi BCN was over for Spain. So, you know, gigs like that I'm quite happy to pick up. I don't think I'll ever get back to gigging anywhere near what I did before. I'm good for the one-offs, I think, and the kind of comebacks. I mean, something I suppose I would always like to do is a kind of dimensional reunion, which was obviously the residency I had.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not a promoter. I'm useless at that sort of stuff. I need somebody else to do that for me, but whoever done that would want to have money winning, I think. If he's listening, David could probably do that, you know. But musical wise, I mean, I've got projects there that I've not finished yet that I always plan on finishing. I do have some new stuff that I've been working on that's not quite completed yet. I don't think I'll probably as much release music under, you know, any sort of label. I think that the way I'm feeling about my music at the moment, I'm quite happy to give it away for free. You know, want to make money for it. I just want to do it for my enjoyment.
Yeah, what I'm noticing is TikTok's a big place just now, and see for the wee 1 minute drops, a wee breakdown and stuff like that, and a wee quick video. People are loving that just now because it means they can make their tags, and that's a great wee promotional tool. Just a wee hint.
I know. Well, funny enough you say that. I did have a wee look through, and obviously because of stuff that I have released that is out there. I mean, I actually get royalties for.
Have you typed in the search bar?
Search myself.
Yes.
So,
brilliant.
It was very intriguing because I'd heard some of the other people's music. Other guy like PJ's music's been on it a few times.
Right.
That must go on this day. And boom, there you go. It's there. Obviously, because I've released stuff under all sort of different names, I'm trying to search all different, like GMC and dynamic DJs, and I'm like, how's that not coming up? So it's certainly TikTok. It intrigues me a wee bit because I like the live factor. I like the live DJ stuff. I think I would probably something I'd like to probably pick up in the next year is maybe do a wee couple of live streams.
Right.
I'm up for that.
Well, see, there's you get because of TikTok, you get this thing. What's it called? It's called the Creators Lab, and it's actually I don't know if you've used the software OBS, but it's very similar to that. But they don't let OBS link into that. They want you to use the own TikTok software because of the Chinese thing in that. But it's actually a great platform. I don't know what their PRS is on that. But I prefer my Mixcloud because I know that I pay my PRS and the music we play, the artists get paid, sort of thing. I think we're on the second last question. How do you see the future of McKenna Dance evolving, and what role do you hope to play in that evolution?
I think probably when I listen to the sounds that are coming in for some of the producers, they're great. You know, there's a starting point there. I wish there would be a wee bit more individuality, especially in the Scottish scene. I think we copy too much some of the other scenes that are kind of about the North East scene. I know there's anything wrong with it, but I just sort of wish that somebody would stamp a wee bit of kind of Scottishness to it. I think that's where I'm kind of going with that. So I'd like to see some more Scottish producers appear. I mean, I think there's a couple of guys in the background doing some stuff just now that I've heard some stuff and I'm getting quite impressed with the production. So maybe nice to see something different come for them. We'll maybe see what comes of that. It's good that the guys, I would probably encourage some of the guys to do more collabing and stuff like that, and get out your comfort zone and maybe, you know, going to some of the Spanish guys as well. You know, they're always up for a bit of collabing. I mean, there's a new breed of Spanish producers as well now, you know, that are slightly different. And before it was quite difficult, even when I started, they wanted you to have a following, and they wanted you to have this, and they wanted you to have that. And, you know, I was quite fortunate in the position I was in with the people that I knew, but that opportunity, it would have been really, really difficult for me to get involved in.
I had this conversation with DJRS a couple of weeks ago, and it was like, you know, back in the day where a guy was producing a tune, it was like a schoolboy, you know, no letting you see the other person, see their work, you know, miss, I'm going to... So it was very, very, I'm keeping all my secret ideas because I want to be famous with this sound. But nowadays I'm noticing there's a lot of producers, a lot of artists sharing, teaching others, and getting other people involved in what they're doing. It has to evolve like that. Yeah,
it's got to, because if you don't, then you're these producers are going to come up and they're just going to play it. They're just going to end up producing like so your trance, your Melbourne bouncer. You know, they're going to go with what's popular.
Absolutely.
I know making it's popular. It's a niche market, and if you can actually involve yourself in it, you'll get a lot of joy with it. As long as these people want to share. I'm quite happy. You know, I've had people approach me and say, Gary, can you make me a sample bundle? Aye, fine. I give them a chunk of my samples. I've got nothing to hide with my samples. You can give everybody a sample bank if they're not very good at producing, and I don't mean this, you know, in any way whatsoever down anybody, but the sample packs are only going to make a difference. You know,
you're absolutely right.
A starter, and by the hope of me giving that person that starter pack, that's the start. Vocals are another one. A lot of people. I mean, I write loads of music, and I have done for years. Original vocals, and get people to sing them for me, and you know, I wrote for other people, and they've got people to sing for them. It's a great way to do it. If you know a singer, now write something and record it. So even if you can't get somebody else to do it for you, sit with them, sit with people inside a studio, bedroom, professional, whatever it needs to be. But share your knowledge.
That's
because the more you share, the bigger the scene will become. And I'm a great believer in that. Beforehand, I was probably one of the people I didn't want to share my stuff.
But I think the digital revolution and social media has made it that, you know, you can be up front and people are willing to collaborate and share and give ideas. I was going to just touch on something. I was speaking to Gizzy a couple of weeks ago, and see, I was fascinated how Gizzy was doing his productions with Mark P. And I says, are you learning a lot? And he says, Glenn, I swear to God, you want to see what I've learned off of this guy. This guy is amazing because he's slowly taking me through every individual step. And that's what people need. They need producers to do that, share. Because what are we all going to do? Get old and then start listening to the 80s because there's no modern music?
And that's just that. And there's, do you know what? Everything's becoming more and more available now.
Yeah,
I use Cubase, and listen, I pay for my Cubase. I don't have a cracked piece of software.
I know that, Gary.
My VSTs I pay for, right? But they cost me an absolute fortune. See, now you can subscribe. So if you want a new Cubase, now you can go to that Splice, I think, now, and you can subscribe and get the new Cubase.
Is that right?
So like 12 quid a month or something. Well, I remember forking out like 500-600 quid. So. I mean, the scene, the music production scene itself is realising that people can't afford to be paying 300, 400, 500 quid for a piece of software.
For a Kickstarter pack,
aye. You know, the VSTs, one of the biggest VSTs that everybody uses probably in Excess are, you know, Silence. You know, Silence, again, you can subscribe to that, and you can, as long as you continue to pay for it, you keep it at the end. And those sort of models is what should be encouraged, because, I mean, I'm a great believer that, you know, we should all use... I'm not saying I didn't use crack software. I think everybody did in their process. At that point,
it was too dear. It was just too dear.
It was far too expensive. So how did they expect anybody, even somebody at my age, 14, 15, that wanted to be involved in that, could never be involved?
Yeah.
So now these platforms are now making it more affordable. I still say they need to be cheaper. I get these companies have got money to make and stuff like that, but, you know, give your artist a chance. You know, if you're going to, you know, all these wonderful sounds in a VST and charge 400 quid for it. They're never going to use it.
I'll
They're going to
know.
try and get a cracked software version,
Yeah.
and these companies will make nothing. So I'm a great believer that also needs to change in that mindset. They're the people that control it, really. The music producers out there can only use the tools that they provide.
I'll not mention the actual DAW that I've been playing about with, but you'll know the one I'm talking about. Spotify owns it. So I'd signed up and had a wee go at their Pro Tools and stuff like that, and I think that's an absolute cracking online DAW, and it gets weekly sample packs put up and stuff like that. I let Deke have a wee listen and a wee mess about with it as well, and he was quite impressed. But we're no advertising for them, so we're not giving them a shout out.
No, not at all. That's what I'm saying. But as long as we can, if people can share things with each other,
absolutely,
especially within that scene, and you get somebody that wants a bit of interest in it, then catch them early enough that they'll not go and make their trance or their hardcore. They'll make the Makina, or they'll make whatever it is that they're interested in.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, Gary, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've got one more question to ask you, and this is where you start. This is where you put on your Godfather jacket and give some advice. So, what advice would you give to aspiring DJs and producers looking to make their mark in the McKenna dance scene or anywhere else in the electronic music dance industry? What advice have you got for them?
Touching on a wee bit on the last topic, sharing. That's a big one, I think. Number one, sharing them. Share your bad productions and your good productions. Don't take feedback too seriously, because if everybody ridiculed anything I ever made, I'd probably make nothing. The community of a scene is quite a big thing, regardless of what genre it is. Make sure that you understand what's going on in that scene, and make sure that you're no copying, but trying to be a wee bit different. Make the music you play a wee bit different. Be extremely humble. I think there's times, even I can admit, when you had the residency at Dimensionals on Boy, and just maybe taking it for granted at times a wee bit, and you're thinking who's behind me and who's next to me and who's doing this and who's doing that, and you let that kind of fly away a wee bit, and you lose people through it as well. So it's important that you don't allow that to eat into you being an artist. Do you know what I mean? It's don't ignore the noise around about you, and if take everybody at face value, but do what's right for you also. That's really important. Don't let anybody, pull you down. But believe in yourself, and see if you're good at what you do. Make sure you get paid for it. I'm a great believer. And I'm totally up. Promoters, they need to be there and they need to make money for events and all the rest of it. Don't use young, good talent to sell your tickets.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, but do not fall for that one. Don't play at their events. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. Doesn't matter how big the night is or how great it can be for your career. Don't line somebody else's pockets using your talent, because you know what, you might bring 30 people to that event. You're not seeing a penny on it.
Absolutely.
And the same 30 people turn up at the next one and the next one and the next one, and then until you say, look, you need to pay me for what I'm worth, especially if you want to do this full time. If this is something you really want to do passionately, I mean, I'm not saying it's about the money, but I just feel it's only fair that an artist is paid. It's hard enough these days. I think, looking back, I was lucky enough to make some, really nice money for selling vinyl and stuff like that, because the profit margins were high and they were mine, and I controlled that, and that paid for equipment. I didn't just go and spend that on shoes or trainers. Everything was invested back into what I was doing.
That's something I remember. I remember you doing that all the time.
Relying on MP3 sales royalties, where I'm not even going to lie to you, unless you're going to make a big massive hit, you're not going to make a lot, right? I'll be totally honest with you. It is, if you're going to get into this thing, I'm Makina DJ producer and I'm going to make thousands, you'll know.
No.
Right? And I'm not going to put a bad side in it. I mean, certainly through your productions and whatever you do further on in your career, you'll be great at it, and you probably could get a top 100 and beat Porter, push to beat it, and I'm all for everybody believing in themselves, but don't think about it just for the money. But try and expose yourself as much, use social media as much as possible positively. And there's one other thing I will say to everybody: we have a scene, and I'll say this for the UK dance scene in total, that is also, maybe not as bad as what it was when we were younger, but it was drug and drinking fueled, right? One of the things that I've learned through speaking to, I've done a chunk of work with a guy called Frank Cosgrove. Don't know if many people know me. I was on Celebrity Love Island with that years ago. Yeah. And he's part of a group called Futuristic Polar Bears, and I've done some stuff with Fran. And he's a great inspirational speaker and coach. And and one of the things he said is always remember the last impression you leave in somebody. Whether it be a person that comes up and says, I know who you are, or a person that wants to book you, or other artists, always remember the impression that you leave these people, because these people will be something that you'll cross over again at some point, or, you know, it could be a career breaker down the line. You know, always get a good impression of yourself. So one of the things that I promised myself in the end up was that, well, I don't drink at events. I've never partaken in drugs, but if I probably did, that was a point I let it go and stop. You know, and I'm a great believer that scene that we all live in, you know, it does come with a kind of
stigma,
picturesque view of, you know, people just being party animals and the rest of it, but that's far from the truth. But if that's one bit of advice I could give to young DJs and producers coming through, is just be mindful about who's running about you, you know, and if you really want to have a good go at it, then be on your best behaviour, because these people do notice that, you know. Management, big promoters, you know, they take notes of these things, you know, so it's important that you at least get a good image of yourself, and obviously that also portrays yourself on social media, so make sure that, you know, you're no squeaky clean, nobody's ever squeaky clean, but just make sure that you get a good representation of yourself and your music.
The best version, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself, Gary.
Okay.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Friday night, Saturday morning on its way, Gary. I would like to thank you once again for your time.
Thank you very much for inviting me on.
No problem at all, mate. So thank you very much once again, ladies and gentlemen, DJ Gary MC.